This is the Sony A7S III together with the 1635 f2.8 GM lens, and this has been my main vlogging setup for almost a year now, and it is very good, but it's also extremely expensive. This entire setup right here is around $10,000. So if you're gonna go out and shoot vlogs with this, you gotta make sure that you can afford to break the camera or the lens, because something is going to happen when you're doing a lot of vlogs. And that is also why I'm saying goodbye to my Sony A7S III as my main vlogging camera and saying hello to this little bad boy right here, the Sony ZV1. Let me show you what it can do. If you haven't seen my vlog channel, I highly recommend you to go and check it out. It's going to be linked in the description down below. The latest video that dropped on that channel is actually a B-roll sequence in there that I shot entirely on this camera with the HFR settings, which stands for high frame rate. And that feature in itself is something that I'm very impressed by, because you can shoot up to 1000 FPS in full HD. It's not true full HD because it does upscale parts of the sensor so that it's like, I think it's like 1620 by something, and then it upscales that to full HD, but it looks good and allows you to shoot some really slow-mo things on a camera like this. The main reason that I decided to upgrade my vlog setup with this camera, if you can say upgrade, but I think you can do, is the portability issue that I had with this, because having this at the ready at all times in my man pouch here on the side, is something that makes me use the camera a lot more and actually do vlogs, instead of thinking that I have to rig this up, I have to bring a tripod with me, I have to make sure that no one steals this camera. Just having this, picking it up, shooting some stuff whenever you're on the go, makes things so much easier. And since it has the flip out screen, it is also very convenient when you're shooting and when you're vlogging yourself. And it definitely does help to like just record those like quick talking head segments that you want to have in the video when you're vlogging. And I also found it very neat that you don't have to have this on an actual tripod whenever you're vlogging. You can just hold it like this, and when you have the screen flipped out, it is actually possible to hold in the actual screen and vlog like this if you want to do that. But also being able to just put it down on the ground, getting a couple of shots when you're walking out of your car or when you're doing something, just to get those extra different angles of when you're doing something, is so good to have. It does have a couple of cool features, such as the product isolation, where you press a button and then it isolates the product that you're shooting. This is very good for those of you that are just starting out and want to have some like nice blurred out background of your products when you're doing some talking ahead and holding up stuff. And since the aperture is 1.8 at the widest field of view, it does give you a really nice blurred out background that will be very good for when you're shooting B-roll or slow motion stuff and you want to get those like nice blurry background shots that I personally like a whole lot. The zoom lens is equivalent to 24-70 on a full frame sensor, but I personally do think that 24mm is a little bit too tight when you're doing vlogs, and I would have loved to have something that is a 1635, but looking at the sizes of these things, you can totally understand why it's such a huge difference. The microphone on the camera is actually that good that you don't need to have an extra microphone. I've done entire vlogs with this camera alone, and I do think that the audio quality stands up to something that is actually bearable to listen to. And you also do get the dead cat in the box, which means that when you're shooting outside, you are going to reduce a lot of the wind noise that otherwise would hit the microphone. And when you're vlogging, you do have the IAF, so you don't have to worry that your eyes are not going to be in focus, because it's like... And I do think that this camera is a fantastic little camera for those of you that wants to start out, for those of you that are doing stuff for the fun of it, and for those of you that wants to have a simple way of capturing your day-to-day life, start your YouTube channel, you know, do those kind of things, because this is not a production camera. This is not going to be for those of you that are into creating the most cinematic content, because that is where this comes in. But This comes in at $699. This comes in at almost $10,000. So there is a huge difference. But there is, of course, a couple of downsides with this as well. One, you can only shoot 4K video in 5-minute segments. And this is something that I've found to be extremely annoying. Even though it's not that big of a deal, I still think that having 4K capped at 5 minutes is something that you should be able to change on your own in the camera, and not something that should be like capped out by the software. Two, the battery life is completely horrendous. I think that one battery, when you're shooting 4K, you get around like 20 minutes of actual shooting time. When you're shooting in HD, I managed to get like around 1 hour and 10 minutes. So if you're shooting a lot throughout the day, something that I highly recommend to have with you is a battery charger that can charge 2 batteries at the same time, so that you always have 2 batteries ready for when you're out shooting. And I think that this battery charger came in at like $10 or $15, and the batteries were like the same price each. So it's not that much more expensive, but it's also something that I highly recommend to have if you are using this as your daily driver. I'm not entirely saying goodbye to the Sony A7S III as my main vlogging camera, because whenever I can use this, I am going to use this. But the majority of the time, this is what I have with me, and this is what I will use whenever I'm vlogging. The best camera is the one that you have with you. So if you want to see a couple of examples that I've shot with this camera in the HFR mode and 4K vlogs and all that good stuff, I'm gonna drop a link down below once again, and I would love to know your thoughts. What do you think about the ZV1? And would you actually downscale from a setup like this to a setup like this if it allowed you to shoot more videos? Do drop a comment down below, because I'm really interested in this topic. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. Really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, do give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good one. Take care.